He was a millionaire CEO who could have chosen anyone, even the 8 glamorous models who tried to win his heart. But instead, he turned them all away. What he never expected was that his life would be shaken, not by beauty, not by wealth, but by a single mother working as a delivery girl. This is not the story the world expects. It is the story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where you are watching from. If this story moved you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So drop a comment below and let us know what you think. Now, let's jump into the story. In a world where money and power ruled, there was one man who seemed to have it all. He was a CEO, known across the city for his wealth, his sharp mind, and the empire he had built with his own hands. His life was filled with the things many people could only dream of. Luxury cars lined his driveway. Tall glass towers bore his company's name. His calendar was packed with meetings, parties, and travels to some of the most beautiful places in the world. To those on the outside, he was untouchable, a man who could snap his fingers and make things happen. Yet, beneath all the glamour and prestige, there was an emptiness that no one could see. He lived in a mansion filled with silence, a house too big for one man. He attended dinners with people who laughed at his jokes, but rarely knew his true thoughts. His success was loud, but his heart was quiet. With his power and influence, many people wanted to be close to him. Most were drawn not to who he was as a person, but to what he represented: status, security, and fame. The models were no exception. They were stunning, elegant, and admired wherever they went. Each one hoped to be chosen by him, to stand by his side, and to share the spotlight that came with his name. There were 8 in total, 8 women who had been carefully presented to him through parties, introductions, and social circles. They were polished and perfect, walking with grace, speaking with charm, and dressing in ways that made heads turn. Any man would have been honored to have even one of them interested. But this CEO was not just any man. The first model stepped forward with confidence. She carried herself like royalty, her beauty undeniable. She smiled, she impressed, she spoke of fashion and fame. But as the CEO listened, he felt nothing stir inside him. He nodded politely, thanked her for her time, but quietly walked away. The second was equally striking, a woman who had been on magazine covers, a face recognized across the industry. She spoke of her success, her travels, her fame. The CEO admired her achievements, but her words felt rehearsed, her charm too practiced. Again, he stepped back, unimpressed. The third tried a different approach. She spoke not of fame, but of how she could be the perfect partner for a man of his stature. She painted a picture of luxury, of parties, of influence. Yet, as he listened, he felt a hollowness in the promise. It was not about him. It was about the image of being with him. One by one, the models came forward. The 4th, the 5th, the 6th, each one more glamorous than the last. Their beauty was undeniable. Their style was flawless. But behind every smile, behind every compliment, he sensed the same thing: a desire for the life he represented, not for the man he was. The 7th and 8th tried as well, bringing with them the confidence of women who had been admired by many. They spoke of how they could adapt to his lifestyle, how they could match his world of elegance. But again, the CEO's heart remained still. He rejected them all, not with cruelty, not with arrogance, but with quiet honesty. He did not feel the connection he was looking for. He was not searching for a trophy or a decoration to stand by his side. He wanted something deeper, something real, something that would move his heart beyond the surface. To the outside world, his choices made little sense. How could a man with so much, a man who could have chosen any of these admired women, turn them all away? Whispers followed him. People wondered if he was being too selective or if he was simply never satisfied. But the CEO knew the truth. He was waiting for something different, something that could not be bought, measured, or displayed in magazines. His world was full of noise, yet inside he longed for silence filled with meaning. His mansion was filled with treasures, yet he longed for something priceless. The 8 models had shown him beauty, success, and glamour. But what he wanted was authenticity. As the days passed, the rejections did not bother him. Instead, they gave him clarity. He understood more than ever that his wealth and his power would always attract people who desired the life he could offer. But the one who would truly capture his attention would be the one who saw the man behind the empire. And so, while others speculated about his decisions, the CEO waited patiently. He lived his life, attended his meetings, and walked through the halls of his company with the same focus as always. But deep down, he knew that when the right person crossed his path, he would recognize her not by glamour, but by authenticity. That moment had not yet arrived, but it was coming, and when it did, it would change his life forever. After rejecting the models, the CEO returned to his daily routine. Meetings filled his mornings, contracts filled his afternoons, and formal dinners consumed his nights. Everything looked perfect on the surface, yet inside, his heart remained untouched. He had money, power, and endless recognition, but none of it could give him the sense of connection he quietly craved. One evening, when the sky had turned gray and rain tapped against the tall glass of his office, the CEO decided to stay late at work. Most of his staff had gone home, the hallways were silent, and only the sound of typing echoed from his desk. He worked until his stomach growled, reminding him that even the wealthiest man had ordinary needs. Hungry but unwilling to attend another formal dinner, he ordered food. It was a simple act, one he rarely did himself. Usually, someone else managed the small details of his life. But tonight was different. He wanted something ordinary, something real, something that broke the pattern of his carefully designed days. Not long after, a knock at the door broke the silence. The CEO rose from his chair and walked across the office. When he opened the door, he expected a routine delivery. Instead, he found someone who would change his life. Standing in the dim hallway was a young woman wearing a delivery jacket, rain dripping from her hair. In one hand, she held a bag of food, and in the other, she balanced her phone. She was tired, her shoes worn, her expression serious. Yet behind her eyes, there was something undeniable: strength. She introduced herself quickly, apologizing for the delay. Her voice carried no attempt to impress. She was not dressed in luxury, not covered in jewelry, not trying to present an image of perfection. She was simply doing her job, one delivery at a time. The CEO looked at her closely. Unlike the models he had turned away, she seemed untouched by pretense. There was no performance, no script, just honesty. She placed the food into his hands, thanked him politely, and turned as if to leave. But something stopped him. For reasons he could not explain, he asked her a question. He asked how her night had been. A question so ordinary, yet in that moment, it felt extraordinary. She hesitated before answering. Then, with a tired smile, she said it had been long. She explained she worked long hours delivering food to support her child. She spoke plainly, without shame and without exaggeration. Her words were simple, yet they carried more weight than the glamorous speeches of the 8 models combined. The CEO listened with genuine interest. He asked another question, then another. The delivery girl spoke about balancing motherhood with work, about facing daily struggles, about finding strength when exhaustion tried to pull her down. There was no self-pity in her voice, only determination. In those few minutes, the CEO felt something shift. For the first time in a long while, he heard a story that reached past the surface. She was not trying to win his approval or chase his status. She was speaking from the raw reality of her life, and that honesty drew him in more powerfully than beauty ever could. When she finally excused herself, saying she had more deliveries to make, the CEO thanked her. But his gratitude was deeper than just for the food. He felt thankful for the reminder that authenticity still existed in the world, even in the most unexpected places. As the door closed behind her, he stood in silence, holding the meal, but thinking only of her words. He could not shake the image of the tired young mother, balancing work and responsibility with quiet courage. For days afterward, he thought about the encounter. The models with their polished smiles had left no trace in his mind. Yet this brief meeting with a delivery girl lingered in his memory. He found himself replaying her words, her steady voice, her determined spirit. It was not about her appearance, though she had a natural beauty he could not deny. It was about her resilience. It was about the way she carried herself, not with arrogance, but with purpose. She represented something he had been searching for without even realizing it: truth. The CEO understood that fate often worked in silence. A simple food delivery, a rainy night, a chance conversation. These small details had brought him face to face with the one person who could touch his heart in a way no one else had. And though she walked away that evening, unaware of the impression she had made, the CEO knew his life would not be the same. This was the beginning of something unexpected. A story not written in luxury or built on image, but born out of real life. The meeting was brief, yet it was enough to plant the seed of fascination. He had found what he had been waiting for, not in the glamorous world of models, but in the quiet strength of a single mother delivering food to survive. After that rainy night, the CEO could not erase the memory of the delivery girl from his mind. Her image, her words, her honesty lingered with him long after she had left his office. In a world filled with luxury and pretense, she stood out as someone completely different. She was not trying to impress him, not trying to gain anything from him. Yet she had given him something priceless: sincerity. Days passed, and the CEO found himself hoping for another meeting. He ordered food again, almost as if searching for a reason to see her. Sometimes she arrived. Sometimes it was another worker. But each time she appeared at his door, he felt the same quiet spark inside. Their conversations began to stretch beyond polite greetings. He asked her about her child, and she spoke of the joy and struggles of motherhood. She told him about her long shifts, her worries about rent, and her determination to provide a better future for her son. Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of real life. The CEO listened with patience and respect. Unlike others, he did not interrupt her with grand advice or empty promises. He simply listened, because her story mattered to him. Every detail she shared felt more meaningful than the countless conversations he had endured at glamorous dinners. Slowly, trust began to grow between them. She noticed that, despite his wealth, he never spoke with arrogance. He treated her not as someone beneath him, but as someone whose life held value. She had met wealthy people before, and most had looked at her as if she was invisible. But he was different. He looked at her as though she mattered. What surprised her most was his humility. Despite his position, he admitted that success had not filled the emptiness inside him. He confessed that the life of luxury often felt hollow, that the noise of admiration never replaced the silence of loneliness. For the first time, she saw not a powerful CEO, but a man searching for meaning. Their connection deepened with each encounter. What began as short exchanges during deliveries soon turned into longer conversations. Sometimes he would meet her outside, offering her a place to sit and rest for a moment. He would ask about her dreams, and she would share them hesitantly, never imagining anyone would care. He discovered that she once loved to read, but gave it up when work and responsibility consumed her time. He learned that she hoped her son would grow up to be strong and kind, even if life was hard. He admired her resilience, her ability to keep going even when the world seemed heavy on her shoulders. He began to admire not only her strength, but her kindness. She always spoke with warmth about her child, and even about strangers she met during her deliveries. Despite exhaustion, she carried herself with dignity. She did not complain, she did not pretend. She simply lived, honestly and bravely. For the CEO, these qualities lit something inside him he had long thought lost. He realized that what he had been searching for was not beauty, not glamour, but truth. She represented everything he longed for: authenticity, resilience, and heart. On her side, she too felt something changing. At first, she was cautious. She could not ignore the distance between their worlds. He was wealthy, powerful, and admired, while she was an ordinary single mother struggling to survive. She doubted whether anything real could come from such a connection. But as she spent more time speaking with him, she saw beyond the image. He was not defined by his money in her eyes, but by the way he treated her with respect and sincerity. As weeks passed, what began as chance meetings turned into deliberate choices. He found reasons to see her more often, not in a way that burdened her, but in ways that showed he valued her presence. He even visited her delivery spot one evening, surprising her with a warm drink during her break. These small gestures spoke louder than words. They showed her that he cared, not because of who she could be in his world, but because of who she already was in her own. And so, slowly, something rare began to grow. It was not a whirlwind romance built on appearances. It was not a fairy tale painted with perfection. It was a quiet, steady bond built on respect, honesty, and admiration. The CEO no longer thought of the models he had rejected. Their images faded from his memory. What remained was the delivery girl's smile, her voice, her strength. She was the one who filled the silence in his life, not with noise, but with meaning. Their connection was blossoming into something more than either of them expected. It was the kind of bond that could not be forced or bought. It was real. It was fragile, yet powerful. And deep down, both of them sensed that this was only the beginning of a love that could change everything. As time passed, the bond between the CEO and the delivery girl deepened into something neither of them had planned. What began as a chance meeting had grown into a relationship built on respect, patience, and honesty. He had power, wealth, and influence, but with her, he found peace. She had struggles, burdens, and responsibilities, but with him, she found support. Their connection was not a story of luxury. It was not about expensive gifts or glamorous dates. Instead, it was about small moments that carried great meaning. He admired her strength as a single mother. The way she balanced long hours of work with the love she poured into her child. She admired his humility, the way he listened to her without judgment, and valued her thoughts as much as his own. Eventually, the people around them began to notice. Whispers rose in business circles and social gatherings. Many were shocked to see the wealthy CEO spending time with a woman so far from his world. Some doubted his intentions. Others questioned hers. But the two of them did not let the noise of society dictate their bond. They knew their relationship was not built for approval. It was built for something far greater: truth. The CEO, who once rejected 8 glamorous models, now stood proudly beside the woman who had walked into his life with nothing but a food order and her courage. He had found what he had been searching for all along: authenticity. She, in turn, found in him not just a man of status, but a man willing to stand by her side through every challenge. As months turned into years, their bond grew stronger. He did not try to change her, and she did not try to live up to the world's expectations of him. Instead, they lifted each other, step by step, building a life where love mattered more than appearances. One evening in a quiet setting far away from the spotlight, the CEO asked her the question that had lived in his heart for some time. There were no flashing lights, no grand stage, no cameras. Only the two of them, and her child who had become part of his life as well. With sincerity in his eyes, he asked her to marry him. Her heart raced. She had never imagined such a moment for herself. Life had taught her to expect hardship. Close friends, family, and those who truly mattered gathered to witness the union of two very different worlds brought together by love. The CEO, dressed with elegance, and the delivery girl, glowing with quiet beauty, stood together as equals. In that moment, the gap between their lives disappeared. The vows they shared were not promises of wealth or status. They were promises of respect, loyalty, and love that would withstand both success and struggle. The crowd watched in silence, touched by the truth of their story. Their marriage became a symbol of hope to many. It reminded people that love is not defined by appearances, nor by money, nor by social standing. Love is defined by truth, by resilience, and by the courage to see beyond what the world expects. For the CEO, marriage was not the end of his journey, but the beginning of a new one. He no longer returned to an empty house. Instead, he returned to a home filled with laughter, warmth, and meaning. His empire still stood, his business still thrived, but what gave his life value was not the towers with his name, but the family waiting for him inside. For the delivery girl, marriage did not erase the struggles she had once known, but it gave her the strength of a partner who believed in her. She was no longer just surviving each day for her child. She was living, building a future filled with love and security. And so, the story came full circle. The CEO who once turned away 8 beautiful models found his true partner not in perfection, but in authenticity. The delivery girl who once thought she was invisible to the powerful discovered that her resilience made her unforgettable. The moral of their story was clear. True love does not follow society's script. It does not measure wealth, status, or appearances. True love is found in honesty, in respect, and in the quiet courage of two hearts willing to choose each other despite the odds. Their marriage was proof that the greatest treasures are not found in gold or fame, but in the rare gift of genuine love.